Hey.
Hello, hello.
How's it going, man?
Good, good. I suppose it's probably a good idea to do a mic check.
Check. You ready for this talk?
I hope so. Yeah. Well, I think so. I am one of those.
You got this. Oh, where?
Hey, Chris.
Hey, you guys. I just popped
Hey,
on.
man. You feel okay?
Yeah, well, I mean, no. I'm starting to get like my classic symptoms of pre-strep, like sore throat and hurts to swallow, and no fever yet or anything weird. So I'm not like afraid of COVID right now, but it's just, I've been like achy all day and just got back from a vacation trip and just not really feeling great.
Yeah, feeling out of it.
Starting to get a headache and not getting my videos. Says I don't need the video, but that's telling me the host has stopped video here. It's okay.
Oh yeah. Make you the host.
Sorry. I said in my Slack post, I'm just gonna do like a real fast, thanks to our video sponsor and not go and not do my usual slides and stuff.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
I'm sure I'll be faster than Bobby is because I don't remember half the stuff he usually says, but I have his slides. So.
Good.
Get some water. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's see. I'll swap over to me. Okay, there. Yeah. All right. I did not check the background before I got started tonight, so I just threw up the green screen and I'm like, all right, we're good, right?
What is that background? It's
so it's
recent.
It's Kennedy Space Center. I don't know from how long ago, but this is Michael Collins. He's the dude that actually landed on the moon. The third astronaut. So I think all the NASA employees know who he is. But yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I read an interesting article about how they picked the crews and who was chosen for the actual moon landings and stuff. And it was this complete random crapshoot kind of a thing. It wasn't like Neil Armstrong was the top astronaut, best guy ever. Give it to him. There was these rotating backups of crews starting from the earlier missions. And one guy got sick, so the backup from something else got moved forward a mission, and then the other backup rotated in, and it was all this wacky rotation of people, and it just like, all right, bam, it was just the lottery. You guys are it. You're landing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
and
That's
so it
cool.
wasn't so there wasn't any like real high end competitive level because they were all qualified for their missions or whatever kind of thing. And so it was kind of cool that it wasn't like they picked, it wasn't like the top 3 guys got to be the first ones on the moon or 2 really, but that kind of thing. It was kind of a random, one guy dropped out and retired, a couple other guys got sick in the right order, and there you have it.
I'm sure it was very logical.
Yeah.
Following some document or something that some procedure, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was kind of this whole roadmap they like all agreed to at the start of the whole Apollo program. So it was kind of cool. That's the first I ever heard that kind of a explanation.
Yeah. Well, I should probably turn the phone off. Yeah, I think there's a book about the woman who wrote the software for the shuttle. I don't remember her name, but yeah, I want to read that book. There's some good NASA books for sure. Was this a book or an article that you were reading, Chris?
It was an article I saw recently. I don't know if I still have it in any kind of history or something. It might have been on my phone, so it was gonna be harder to find the history. It might have been in the if it was an Apple News article or a browser article. I'll have to see if I can find that. That seems like it would have been. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Ars Technica website.
Yeah.
That seems like it'd be an Ars Technica kind of article, where they got to the bottom of the real story, and that was like their science writers.
Yeah, they have some good stuff. What would we do without the internet?
Be happy and less anxious, probably.
Yeah. We would all be working in different fields. Maybe an actual field.
Yeah, I'm good at so little else. I really don't know what I would do.
Yep. Building things. Building something.
Yeah, it's my engineering still, I'm sure.
I figured this background was kind of like relevant to how everybody's probably feeling. I did actual Twitter background for me. I mean, it's kind of weird. I don't know how you guys feel about Twitter. Like I at the beginning I didn't like it, and then I kind of like it, and then I get into it, and then I don't like it. It's like I'm on a break, sometimes with Twitter, but yeah, I don't know how serious. How serious do you guys take Twitter? Kind of like trying to grow your following or engage with people on there. Like, is it a primary social network for you guys?
I think it's primary for me. Like, I work from home for so long. It's always been like a large chunk of my social interaction, especially for like other tech people. But I don't like think about growing my following or check my follower accounts or anything like that. Like, I'm not enjoying it. What's the point?
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same. To me, it's become. I used to be a real diehard RSS guy, and so it's become a RSS with a better UI to me. Really, I follow stuff I want to read more about. I mean, I used to be a little more engaged in the PHP community via Twitter, but just there's no time, and I've got a 2-year-old now and stuff like that. So it's and I hardly even dip into it during the day even. I mean, I'll engage with people that I'm more closer to or something here and there, but it's rare anymore. It's just more of a when I've got an extra 10 minutes, I'll catch up on the equivalent of reading RSS feeds, and or I'll pick something like I've been doing a little dabbling in some data science stuff, so I've followed some data science people, so I find articles to learn
They're
something else or
interesting.
catch up on and so forth. So it's more of a RSS feed kind of a thing for me than it is a social engagement right now. I used to be more social, but I just haven't had the time and I don't know. A lot of people complain about the content. It's things get political or argumentative, and I just haven't really seen a lot of that. I mean, I'm just following the right people, I guess. I don't feel like my whole feed is polluted with all this contentiousness and people
Yeah.
arguing and stuff. So maybe I'm lucky in that regard.
Maybe it depends how you use it too. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I got into. I was like, all right, well, let me try Twitter again, and I'll start posting news. So like, I built this kind of like automated thing with like Zapier and Feedly. Chris, if you don't know about I'm sure you do, but Feedly added some new features in the last couple of years. They have some AI built into it now on their middle tier, I think. And so you can build a board in it. So you have all your feeds, and then you train the AI to like add things that you're interested about, and then it'll create like a curated list from your RSS feed, personalized AI model for you. So that may be helpful. But so I was using that for a while. I'm like, all right, I'll start posting more news using all this stuff I built. And then I look at the engagement numbers, and I'm like, this is like, there's like 5 people that look at this. Like, why am I wasting my time? I mean, it's interesting for me, but like, I could just use Feedly and, read stuff and be fine. But like, what's the point of sharing it if it's not useful for other people? So
Yeah, I
I don't
haven't
know.
looked at Feedly in a while to check them out again, but it's like I don't even now at this point because I've cultivated my own Twitter list of what I'm following on Twitter. I don't think I need like even more content in the pipeline. I got enough.
Yeah,
I don't have time to read now. So, but I'll take a look at it just to see if it's I might like the features better or have it. You know, I'll spend
yeah,
less
it's
time on something else if I add another source of information. There's only so much news and blog posts and stuff I can consume at a time.
for sure.
But thanks for mentioning that though. It's
Yeah,
cool.
it was definitely. I've enjoyed using it. So yeah, you're welcome. Ian had mentioned in chat, so chat is working. um, uh, so it's not set up to be automated, Ian. It's only like when I add things to my personalized board, then it would send out a tweet about that article. So it wasn't like anytime the AI bot decided to add something or whatever, then it would tweet. There was some manual effort required because I didn't want it to be like completely automated. But yeah, move on to other things to spend time on, I think. I've decided to add something or whatever, then it would tweet. There was some manual effort. Oh, I hear a YouTube
sorry.
going.
That was me. I was trying to find the other source of chat and opened it.
Yeah, no problem. So how do you guys want to do the intro stuff? I mean, we'll wait another couple more minutes, I think, but should I go last? Oh, there's a question. I am not prepared for questions via Zoom. The Zoom people probably want the YouTube link. I think we had to post that last month. Can't find where the Zoom chat is. Q&A. Okay, there it is. Oh, no, it wasn't a question. Just a hand raising.
Wait, is there a Zoom chat?
Well, I think it's disabled, but there's the Q&A.
Okay.
So yeah, so how about let's just explain how this works. That's while we're figuring it out here again, we're remembering how it works. So if you're watching on Zoom, there is a Q&A feature. You'll see there at the bottom. So it's moderated, just for safety, boiled for safety. So you can ask questions there, or there is a YouTube link, and I don't know how to post. Somebody has to ask. I think somebody has to ask for the YouTube link before we can add a link to the Q&A thing. But hopefully you have the YouTube link. A lot of people hang out on YouTube. You can search for Awesome Tech Videos on YouTube, and then there should be a live stream there. That's another way to find it. But yeah, that's more or less moderated chat is available on YouTube, or you can use the Q&A feature. There is a polling thing, but since I'll be talking tonight, I don't think we'll do the polling stuff. What else to mention? Oh, I guess this is the second month that we're doing the click to join link. So hopefully you saw on the meetup page or an email the link for Zoom, and it should be a lot easier now instead of the webinar registration rigmarole. But yeah, let us know how that's going, and if you like. I'm assuming this is working better, but yeah, we'll stick with what I think is easier, unless somebody says it's not. How about that? All right. That was a pretty good explanation. Did I miss anything?
No, sounded good. Should we get started, or are we gonna wait a little bit, or what do you think?
We can get started. I don't see how many people are. There's a handful on Zoom. Yeah. All right. So I guess I could go last and then hit record and then dive into the presentation stuff. Does that work for you guys?
Sounds good. Chris, do you want to go first so you can knock it out?
Okay, cool. I appreciate it. Just a quick little blurb from us. Just would like to thank our video archive sponsor, David Edmondson, as a Magento integration consulting firm here in Atlanta. He's a really sharp guy, does a lot of great work. We'd just like to promote him for our videos. And I'll coming up next month, I'll get back to more of our usual updates and upcoming events and local stuff. But right now, I just want to keep it short and sweet. So thanks everybody for coming. And thank you, Logan, for your upcoming presentation. Appreciate you jumping in at the last minute here to fill the hole for us. So looking forward to seeing the recording.
All right, and I'm going to share my screen, I think.
Maybe I have to stop sharing.
No, I think I got it. I just gotta
Okay.
Too many windows open here. So, let me share the whole desktop. No, can't do that. All right, I'm gonna pick a Chrome tab. We're gonna see what happens. Okay, I'm just gonna talk through my slides because I apparently have to restart to share my screen.
Okay.
All right, we're rolling with it. So, Ben, I'm representing Boston PHP. We're 1/3 of the merged PHP trio. You can find us on meetup.com at meetup.com/Boston PHP. We have been around since 2002. We're one of the larger groups. We have about 3,900 members, give or take a bit. We do education, idea sharing, and also representing open source. We do that through, well, we used to do that through in-person meetups. We hope to do that through in-person meetups again sometime next year. We also do self-study groups, and those are ran on a certain cadence. You can find them on our meetup page and sign up to be a part of the meetups as a part of Merge PHP. Yeah, so tonight we're excited to have Logan presenting to us about deployments and code scanning. And I will throw it back over to you, Logan, so you can take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben, and thanks, Chris. Looking forward to doing Merge PHP for forever. I think it's been really good these last few months. So I represent here Austin PHP. We're the longest running tech group here in Austin for about 10 years now. I've been the primary organizer, but there's a handful of other organizers that help out as well. We're definitely a team, stronger as a team. And we used to do 2 meetings a month, a learning focused one and then a drinking social one before the pandemic and everything. So we experimented actually last year with like the online events a bit. And then tried to do a Zoom earlier in the year, but I think this webinar feature on Zoom is pretty easy and has been working well for us. We are part of a conference here in Austin, Longhorn PHP. If you, I'm not prepared to, I don't have the webpage up, but definitely check out Longhorn PHP. Tickets are, early bird tickets are on sale, and call for papers is through December, I believe, and we're shooting for March. Don't hold me on that. Twitter, Ian will probably correct me if that's wrong. But we're looking forward to an in-person event, and hopefully spring next year we can make that happen. So would love to have you all back here in Texas and have another good PHP conference here in Austin. So all right, I've been interested in the GitHub tools and wanted a reason to put together this presentation. So please bear with me, and I hope you all get something out of it. Ian says it's in May. Okay, so give me a few seconds here. I need to figure out how to get presentation going and everything. I have 30 slides, just heads up. I think this is the in terms of file size, this is the biggest presentation that I've ever done. I think you'll see why. But let me, give me a few seconds here. All right, and then I need to Start, resume recording. Yes, on Zoom. Okay, Zoom is recording my face. All right. Now share the screen. Is it good? Did I share the right screen? I don't know. Ben, can you tell me?
Yep, you were good.
Okay. All right. I can see myself on the other. Okay, yeah. All right. So questions and Q&A stuff at the end. I'll try to keep an eye on YouTube chat. I may not see the chat there on Zoom, but we will get to you. If you think of something, definitely shoot us over a question, and I'll do my best to answer it as we get into it here. So tonight we're going to be talking about deployments and code scanning with GitHub. I had previously done a talk last year on GitLab, and so I think this is a good time to talk about what is possible with GitHub. And I think we will actually talk about those things tonight, so why not put those in the title? I hope you are all safe during this time. I really do care about this community and the language. This is, I guess, my first talk for Merge PHP, but I'm sure it won't be the last one. Please bear with me while we have some feedback from the smart devices. But yeah, let's get into it here. So first, I wanted to take a little bit and talk about the community. I think the community is only as good as the work that we put into it. I want to foster a safe environment where everybody is safe to present their ideas that they're passionate about. I think all of us should work on inspiring the next generation of developers and help them on their journey. It really does take a village to raise a child. I think it takes a community to maintain the cultural and economic impact that a programming language has on society. So that means that's us. That's you guys here tonight. We may call ourselves WordPress developers or Laravel developers or PHP developers or Drupalistas, whatever you want to call yourself. You know, we have a lot in common. I mean, can you guess what we all have in common? It's JavaScript. Just kidding. All jokes aside, before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the presentation, I wanted to take a few slides and include some resources for new developers that are that they can reference. And maybe this is good for, if you're kind of in the midpoint of your career or later in your career as well. It's always good to see what's out there. So hopefully this is helpful for everyone. And I challenge all future presenters to do something similar. It doesn't have to be these links or necessarily, but some sort of like reference I think is helpful going forward, just so that we have here's some links to follow up if you're interested in learning more about the language. So here are my links. I've got a fork of awesome PHP there. You probably all have seen it there. Awesome PHP has, and I did update that this week. I noticed that it was a little bit out of date, but that's been updated. PHP Architect is always a great resource. Here's some books that you may consider buying. Chris Hartjes has a new one. So definitely check out some of these books. I think they're a good resource for anyone. And then I have some videos. Here's some links to videos. We actually have some really great like full course videos that are available. Most of them are on YouTube. I did find a handful on Skillshare as well. Like, who doesn't love watching stuff? You're watching stuff right now. The last two there are channels. Awesome Tech Videos is where we've been hosting the YouTube live streams for Merge PHP. I guess I should have been saying that, but yeah, now I guess. If there's anything that you think should be on this list, please let me know. Frick's channel there, Frick van de Herten, I think I said that right, is where they've been doing the Laravel monthly virtual meetups. So definitely check that out as well. Yeah, so getting into the actual talk. Who's ready for the actual talk? We're going to be talking about GitHub Actions and what you can do with them. Obviously, deployments and code scanning, because that's like in the title, right? It's going to be a lot of DevOps related topics tonight. I have been doing a lot of DevOps recently and find that field, that area very interesting. So I think you'll get something out of it if you're interested in that as well. Previously in 2019, I had done a talk on deploying things with GitLab. And so now I think GitHub is at a good point. We can see how that compares. We'll not be covering all the things you can do with GitHub Actions, but I'm going to do my best. So, yep. So, GitHub Actions is just one way of doing things. There's a lot of ways of accomplishing your goal. GitHub has made like great progress in the last 2 years since they announced GitHub Actions. Especially in the last year, there's been a lot of things that have been added. I'm excited about the potential for what is there. And I think Microsoft will be a good steward for the platform. And in order to use GitHub Actions, you're going to need to know that you're going to have to edit some YAML files. I think for some people, they don't like YAML, but maybe it's time that we have like yearly programmer affirmations. So repeat after me. Not everything has to be a movement. Not everything has to be a framework. Not everything has to be a package manager. Not everything has to be an NPM module. And not everything has to be an API. Sometimes you have to write YAML, and sometimes you have to write TOML. I had to write TOML in the last few months as well for a side project I was interested in working on. So sometimes you just have to do it. And I don't really care so much, what you're smoking there, but the goal is to provide something useful, and I think GitHub Actions clearly does that. If you're already doing SAST and DAST and have like a sweet CI/CD pipeline to Wonderland, then good for you. GitHub Actions is probably not the right thing for you, but maybe like sometime in the future, it will be the right answer for you. I just wanted to comment on the background. I think this guy definitely does ops. I hopefully think you guys get that. But yeah. So GitHub Actions, it's there, github.com/marketplace. There is a ton of stuff there. After going through all of everything that is currently available, I think I've come up with a new slogan for GitHub Actions. Come shop at the right tool marketplace. You're welcome, Microsoft. Some of the categories you can see on there: API management, code quality, code review, continuous integration, dependency management, deployment monitoring, security, testing, all sorts of things. You might have seen this chart before. It's like that, but now on GitHub. And by the way, that website at the top, if you don't know about that website, it's pretty interesting. And if you want to spend a lot of time in, browsing the web instead of finishing your meetup talk that's due tomorrow, definitely check that out. There is a list of a ton of companies on there that I think was pretty interesting. So, all right, so getting started with GitHub Actions, what does that actually look like? It's a YAML file that you're gonna have to add to your repo, and it's in this directory in your repo. So it's pretty easy. They give you an example to get started, and that's what, or this is what that looks like, and you can. So I'm going to try to explain here kind of what's going on in this file. You can see some obvious things like the name at the top is CI. Below that we have triggers on push and on pull request for main. That's the branch name, the default branch name now instead of master. I'm not supposed to say that anymore or put that in our repos. And then below that section, below the on section, is the jobs section. You can see the example one that they give you is called build. The runs on parameter is super important. And there's some options there. You can choose a distro and a version and stuff like that. They have a list of supported things that it runs on. Basically, if you see anything that's not self-hosted, that means it's running somewhere in the Azure cloud. So in this case, it's an Ubuntu server running on the Azure cloud. Okay, so then below that section, we see the steps that are in the build process. So we're checking out the code, and then we're just running a command like echo hello world. And you'll see that like in your repo under the actions tab, like when the action executes. It's pretty easy to get started, and the example that they give you, it has a lot of good information there. But that doesn't. There's some new things that they've added, and the deployment stuff I think now is possible with the self-hosted runners. And I went and built a deployment action that uses deployer. And that's what this looks like. It's pretty easy. Here is the part that I added to do the deployments. You'll notice a self-hosted runner there on the runs on line. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a minute. But what else do you notice from this list that's different from the example? Well, the actions checkout line is still there, and it's important if you actually want to check out your code, that's there. And then so the final step there is DEP or DEP. I don't know how you're supposed to say that, but that's deployer, deploy, and then some turning on the verbosity so that you see kind of the deployment messages. And yeah, so the DEP is just like the shortened name for the deployer .far. And I am working on releasing a Ansible Galaxy package. There is one that exists currently, but I'm not super happy with it. I wanted to create one that doesn't have the dependencies that the current one does, or and just have like implied dependencies, like PHP exists, that sort of is what I'm talking about. So keep an eye on that, and you can get deployer added to your server pretty easily. Either automated or manually. It's pretty simple. So deployer. What does that look like? I hope you all are ready to learn some deployer. So in order to deploy things with deployer, you have to add a file called deploy.php to your repo. Deployer's on version 6 or something. They're working hard at version 7 release. You should definitely check them out on deployer.org or on GitHub. So for this talk, to figure out how deployments work with GitHub Actions, I created this simple Hello World app. You can see the code there on GitHub. The URL, the repo URL is there. And I really don't care. You can go and look at it and see it there if you want. But I'm going to explain kind of what's going on here in this deployer file. The project name is the name of the directory on the server that we're deploying to. You see that there at the top. And then obviously we have to tell it where we're deploying. So we have the repo URL, or what we are deploying. So that is the link to the repo. And then the next we have the host block, and the name there, the first line in the host block is arbitrary. The rest of that is all connection details. The SSH key is the path to the key file that is on the self-hosted runner. You'll need to configure the server that you want to deploy with to accept the key from any of the runners that want to connect to it. The nice part of this is you don't have to store the private key in GitHub variables. That's certainly an option if you want to. I mean, like GitHub says that it's encrypted, and if you have two-factor turned on, you probably don't have much to worry about. But in my opinion, it's better if you have a different tool to control and manage like the server keys. And if you're interested in that, take a look at HashiCorp Vault. I think that is one option there. So anyways, moving on, below that, the host block is just like how the runner is connecting to the target deployment instance. So, excuse me, we're going to be running commands on the remote using the runner, is how this deployer file is working. The task block there on the right defines all the tasks that you want to run on the remote. They're defined or pulled in from the common.php file that you see at the top. The common recipe is a good, simple recipe that for this app, it works, but they have a bunch of different recipes for all sorts of applications, frameworks, CMSs. If you're interested, there's a lot of stuff that works just right out of the box. Okay, so if you'll remember the previous slide, that we had the GitHub YAML file. Let's now take a look and see how that compares with the GitLab YAML file. Okay, so this is from my slides from last year on deploying things with GitLab. This is the sample deployment file. And you'll see that it also is pretty simple. That we've got a deployment image at the top. We got different stages defined, and then the script section is where it runs the deployment command. This is from 2019, so I figured I would do, let's see how that has changed in a year, and what are we doing now with GitLab. Oh, I went too far. So this is the GitLab YAML currently. So you'll see that we switched to using deployer, and the line is blurred because it was easier just to add the blur than like editing the file just to do a screenshot. But yeah, that's where your deployment Docker container goes. Yeah, so let's go back and look at a shortened version of that GitHub YAML file. And here that is again, and you'll see I shortened a little bit. I got it down so it's the same number of lines as the GitLab YAML file, and it runs on the self-hosted runner. All that's the same. And so I guess I should tell you about self-hosted runners now and why that matters. So a good place to get started with the self-hosted GitHub runners is if you just Google GitHub self-hosted runners. That is the documentation, and that will get you started. You're going to want to add a runner to your repo, and you can do that if you go to settings and then actions, and then you will, or you should, see self-hosted runners at the bottom. If you could click on add runner button, that will send you to a page and give you instructions on how that you can add it. And you can add a runner to an organization so that it'll pick up any jobs for repos across the entire organization. But in our case, we're just adding it to the repo. And you can configure the self-hosted runner to run as a service that runs in the background. That is possible. The runners, they support Linux, Mac, or Windows, so it runs on anything. And then, so why use self-hosted runners? Well, for two reasons. It's free and it's easy. So if you're using another CI/CD service, this will save you money. Should save you money. And then the other reason is, like, why not run it in Azure? Well, if you're running deployments in the Azure cloud, that's just like a recipe for disaster. And if you head down that path, their IP block that you're going to have to add to your firewall is like 65,000 lines long. So you probably don't want to do that. All right. So the next section of the talk is code scanning. We should probably talk a little bit about what that means. Basically, you have two types, SAST, which is Static Application Security Testing, or DAST, which is Dynamic Application Security Testing. SAST is all about introspection. It's taking the code or the binaries and then like evaluating the quality of the code based on a predefined set of rules. And then DAST, you're on the outside looking in. It's typically a web application or the output of a code. And then you're checking that for potential security vulnerabilities or architectural weaknesses. So that is the difference between code scanning there. GitHub has this new thing that you might have heard about called CodeQL. It is basically a SAST for any code that runs on GitHub that can be run across all of the code that's hosted on GitHub. CodeQL is internally developed, but they are open to outside collaboration. If you're looking for a project that has high impact for all the PHP code that's on GitHub, this would be it, because you'll see there PHP is not currently supported. Hopefully soon, eventually, someday. But the good news is there are other options. Our current alternatives are two things called Psalm. It's PSALM, or PHP Stan. You probably heard of PHP Stan. PHP Stan, by the way, launched a pro version late last month, and then that pro version gives you a nice web interface that will make it, or should make it, easier for you to fix issues before you push your code. So I think those are the free options currently, and then so there's also some paid options. If you got a bunch of money laying around, here are 3 paid options that support PHP that are currently available on the GitHub marketplace. The first one is Fortify by Micro Focus. It's microfocus.com. I haven't tested any of these, and maybe hopefully someday we'll have a talk on them. I'm very interested to see more on how it works and how how good of a job it does. But I believe this all can be run internal to your network, or on code that's in the cloud somewhere. So first one, Fortify from Micro Focus. Second one is Thunderscan from Defense Code. Their website is defensecode.com. And then third one that I found was Veracode, veracode.com, I think. But the other ones, the other 2 that I mentioned have specific products for their SAST. Veracode's just yes, this is one of the things that we do. So they don't have a branded thing that I can point you to, but if you find Veracode and are interested in talking to them, they can help you out as well. All right, so moving right along, some other options, or one other option. I think is probably the best option for smaller budget, or certainly public repos. It does have a free tier for public repos, and it makes it super easy to get it added to your open source project. Also, so I guess I didn't actually say it, Sonar Cloud, Sonar Cube is the community edition. Sonarcloud.io is the website. You do need to set up an account on there. And you probably heard about sonarcube.org before. SonarCube is the on-premise version. They do have a developer edition for SonarCube that is licensed by the number of lines of code. So I guess that might get expensive. I don't know, on the SonarCube side of things. The community edition is probably will get you where you need to be, and especially with it, there's no the GitHub Actions with the Sonar Cube Community Edition, it doesn't come with like open a new pull request with like the recommended changes. But there are a handful of community added GitHub Actions that use the Sonar Cube scanners available on the GitHub Marketplace. So if you just search for Sonar Cube, you might find one that works for you. You know, I'm sure, you know, that's probably will get you where you need to be. I think Sonar Cube or Sonar Cloud would make a really great topic for a more in-depth look. If there's anyone interested in something to talk about for a future presentation, here is something that would help. So throwing out some ideas tonight. And so one more slide on Sonar Cloud. So this is the web version that gives you a nice dashboard. They call the repos that you add to Sonar Cloud projects. And you'll see I added the PHP Hello World repo. It does not have any unit tests, and it's less than 40 lines of code. So it has some great scores there. I hope that I gave you a little bit of a taste on what is possible with code scanning, and I would love to dig into it more. There is a lot of things possible now with code scanning on GitHub. It's really great that it's integrated directly into GitHub, and the cost benefit to using like the self-hosted GitLab is getting more of a difficult argument to make, I think, especially when you take into account like a lot of the more advanced features that with the self-hosted GitLab require you to upgrade to an Ultimate license. And if you catch my previous talk last year, the GitHub GitLab Ultimate license doesn't make any fiscal sense at all for any organization at this point. GitLab, the Community Edition, is very powerful. It is quite powerful, and there's a ton of stuff that you can do with it. But if you're considering the paid tier for GitLab, I think there's no question now that GitHub is the clear winner. And if you're hungry, by the way, Hot Dotties is on Postmates. I found that the other day. You're welcome. If you don't live in Austin, I'm sorry. So one more thing. There is one more thing to talk about. I figured, hey, why not? I have just one more little bit of you know, to share with you all tonight, and that is code spaces. So yes, mortals, my beta was approved, and it's freaking cool. You should definitely check out code spaces if you can. Here is a little bit of what that looks like. You can find it in the code button or below the code button, below the clone section. You can see it there, open with code spaces. And when you click on that, it opens a VS Code that runs in the browser. It is so cool. And here's what that looks like. So you'll see here at the bottom, it's currently running PHP 7.3 and Composer 1.9.3. So it's lagging a little behind the mainline versions, but it's good enough for now. and I haven't quite figured out like if it's possible to change the versions in here, but maybe it will be in the future. So there's a lot going on here. If you make changes and you close the tab, it will save the changes. You're working on a VM that is running in the cloud. And I think it will take some getting used to for a lot of people, because like the tendency will, you know, it is not to treat it as a local development environment, but that's really what they're going for here. If you have used GitLab's web IDE, while that is great, GitLab's web IDE, it opens really fast. It has a lot of features, almost everything that you might need, but GitHub Codespaces expands upon this idea, and the fact that it runs in the browser is really cool. You're going to have to remember that when you make changes, it's just like you're working locally. You know, it's a typical workflow: commit, pull, push, and then there's some other things that are maybe not quite there yet. Might take a little bit of effort. You might be able to get it working. I was not able to figure out like how to get to like see the output of this little simple app. There is a way, but it just didn't work for me. And when I went back to like try to figure it out again, I couldn't even find like how I got to that. So it's gonna take some getting used to. And like if I can't get this like simple test environment for this app working, like getting it working with like an app that requires an actual database is gonna like probably be more of a struggle than like if you had set it up like getting a local development environment. Now that being said, I think Codespaces has its place or will have its place. It's not fully released yet. It seems quite promising. I'm looking forward to like a much easier experience for contributing to open source projects. And I think that's what they're shooting for. Yeah, so definitely check out Codespaces if you get a chance, when you get a chance. It's pretty cool. All right. So before we wrap up here, I wanted to do a brief departure. I hope you're all sticking with me here on this journey. It's October. There's a lot going on in the world, and I think, you know, I'm going to say a few words here. It's been 57 years, 1 month and 11 days since this has happened, and it's clear we have a ways to go. We really need to come together and address these issues, and I think the time is now. I don't know what that means for you all, but I do know that means it's more than just voting. I challenge you to find a social justice project that needs help. Find something that you can do that will make this world a better place. If you see something wrong in this world, don't sit idly by. I truly believe everyone needs to speak the fuck up. And with that, are there any questions? I know we covered a lot. We talked about the GitHub Marketplace, the new YAML files that I know you all are going to be adding to your repos if you haven't already. We learned a little bit about Deployer and how to deploy things with GitHub Actions and GitLab as well. I gave you that simple example to get you started. We talked about code scanning and gave you some options there. Didn't have quite enough time, I think, to dive too far into Sonar Cloud or Sonar Cube. But I hope that you are going to submit a talk to merge PHP soon. Thank you all for listening to my talk. I really appreciate your time and attention. If you need to get a hold of me, probably is the best is the company website. We're working on a new version of the website. Ignore all the jQuery. There's a live chat there. You can get a hold of me. Yeah, so questions. I can't, or maybe Ben, I think I'm gonna have to rely on you for Zoom questions, but I have YouTube on the other computer.
Cool. I've got them both up. I don't see any yet, so ask away, people. Gene did post, and I'll call it out, that if you're looking for a more fundamental understanding of how GitHub works and how Git works, Boston PHP is doing a Git Lunch Season 5 later this month. So if you
Awesome.
go to our meetup page, you can learn more about that.
Awesome. That's good.
All right,
Gene,
so go ahead.
Is there an event posted for the Git Lunch? Do you know if is that something that you created an event in Meetup or?
Yeah, not yet, but it'll be announced later this month.
Okay.
On the meetup page.
Cool. You're welcome. Yep.
So we did have the question come in from Mark Garber.
Okay.
First off, he says, thanks for the talk. It was useful. And does Sonar Cloud support PHP?
Sonar Cloud?
Mhm.
Oh, Sonar Cloud? Yes, Sonar Cloud does support PHP. They, because they have the freemium version on the web or the Sonar Cube that you can run on premise. The Sonar Cube is actually there's a community edition that you can run for free, but doesn't have all the features. And then if you want all the features, it's licensed by the number of lines of code, and it starts at $150 for that paid version. But I think with the on-prem version with GitHub Actions, it's going to get you what you're looking for. If you don't want to, I mean, like for me, like if the repo is public, if you have some open source stuff running like on GitHub in the public repo, I would definitely recommend checking out Sonar Cloud. And I think that's the way to go for open source stuff.
Cool. I'll throw out too. We use Sonar Cube at work, and it works very well for our PHP projects.
Awesome. Did the UI look similar to? I don't know if you missed that slide, but
yeah, it
gives
looks pretty much exactly the same.
Gives you like some code smells and some different scores and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Any other questions?
I sometimes the YouTube chat lags a little bit.
While we have some dead time, I'll say thank you, Logan. That was great. I personally have not used Actions or Code Spaces, so it's pretty cool to see both. And Code Spaces looks really cool, so I'm kind of jealous.
Yeah. So how about if there's no more questions, we could do a quick live demo there.
Okay,
that sounds fun. So let me swap over to that. I'm going to swap back to the slide and then stop my presentation. All right. I don't know if I need to keep that YouTube window open. One second. All right. All right, here we go. Some live demo. Everyone ready? So go here, click on cut spaces. This is one that I started previously, and it does take a little bit of time. It's launching VM and kind of loading all the JavaScript in the world. Is kind of why, and it's running on Azure, I think is probably partly also the reason. But it's not too bad. All right, so now it's open and we have a PHP editor with highlighting and command line access. I think maybe that's how I did it. I was trying to run I think that's what I was doing. Is like I was trying to like serve. I think now it's coming back to me. But I'm not going to do that because it didn't work previously. But you can run it and you can execute PHP code. So should we add something here? Yeah. So we'll just add something there, and then so it's saved. And you don't have to. I don't think you have to hit Command S, even though I just did. And I'm more familiar with PHP Storm, but I think this is pretty similar to how VS Code works. If there's any VS Code users, definitely call out like any differences that you see, because I'm interested to see how that works. But I was messing around with this launch thing, so I don't want to commit that file, but we'll see. And it's weird, it doesn't display like the file name, but it does give you a diff there of your changes. And then you can revert, open a new file, or discard the changes, or add. So we want to stage the changes. And then we want to commit. All right. So committed, right? So that now we can pull and then push. And then I guess I need to open the repo. So you see the commit there. I guess I merged when I pulled. All right.
How is the support for like branching or different environments? Is there any support for that?
So you can create branch, merge, publish, rename, do a bunch of stuff here. I mean, I haven't figured out like, using a database. Who knows, right? How that's going to work. But you can debug things. There's like extensions, remote explorer. Oh, and then this share thing's pretty cool. You can do like live coding with other people, or like share this session basically. So if you're doing like interviews or pair programming or like helping somebody troubleshoot something, seems super useful. I mean, like assuming that you can get like a full stack app running, like, and like actually, you know, see stuff. I was not able to like. They have. How was it? It was like in. It was in here. I can't remember where it was. They have port forwarding set up somewhere where you can forward a port on your local to a port on this VM, and that's I think how they're intending for you to like see the output. But and you know, I just didn't have enough time to get that working completely. And I'm sure there's a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. All right, so we have our commit here and our merge from a few minutes ago. Click on the Actions tab. I don't know why there's 2 merges, but
Yes, they're the same commit, but they look like maybe separate CI runs, like CI number 5 and CI number 12.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe this one. I don't know why it ran twice. But yeah, this is what deployments look like. And then deploy, you can click on here and you can see the deployment. Like it's updating stuff on the remote. And this is using the self-hosted runners, right? So this is a server that I control. So, you know, it's not anyone can deploy to it. And I currently have the runner set up so that it's not running in the background as a background process, but you can set it up so that it's just always running if you want to. But that's what that looks like. And then I think it does some cleanup stuff here. And then it tells you if it worked or not. Yeah, that's weird why there's 2, but I guess there's, or it's not weird why there's 2, it's weird why one of them is not called the commit message. I don't know why that's the case, but it works. Deployments directly from GitHub.
Thanks for showing us that. That's pretty cool.
Yep. And then, yeah, so the server is just some box that I set up for this talk. But yeah, you'll see that it actually works.
I'm pretty excited about that for like open source projects. Once this is a thing and you can just quickly spin up an environment for any open source project, right? Because it'll make contributing back just so much simpler.
It seems easier, right? Because you find a common, like something that's wrong in like composer.json or something, and you're like, oh, I just figured out what I have to do to like bump this up a version, and then you can like find that version of that thing across all of GitHub, and then like go in and instead of like having to do a fork or whatever, or get a complete like local environment set up just to like make a 1 or 2 line change and like run some unit tests. Like this is going to be a lot easier, I think, for contributing to open source, and that was their goal. So
yeah, I think it'll help out a lot. Like I've had a lot of projects where like maybe I'm looking at like a Python thing or a Node thing, something where I don't have the environment ready to go locally, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I need to fix this, but then by the time I think about setting up the local environment, like I never actually get back to contributing it,
Right. Yeah, it's like the getting it set running locally and like making sure you're not breaking other stuff. is like a huge barrier to like contributing to projects. And I think this is, they've done a good job of, reducing that barrier. I don't know if it's completely eliminated, but they're definitely on the right track.
So we had a question come in from Ram on YouTube.
Yeah.
The question is, GitHub Actions are hooks that trigger actions? Question mark. So if you have your own box trigger a Git checkout on check-in to GitHub, is that correct? So I'm not quite understanding the second part of that question. It might be easier to read it.
Okay, let me read it again here. And I think we should go look at the YAML file again. Wait. So I created a shortened version here. Okay, so let me read again. So the hooks are defined here. Aram is it's on push or on pull request for these branches. Then it runs these jobs, right? And you can have multiple jobs. You can have a CI/CD job. You can have there's a ton of shit you can do with it. Like this one has two jobs, right? Like it has a build job and then a deploy job. And then I think you can also, there's a way that you can take the output of one job and pass the output to another step, another build step, right? So that's definitely possible with your Jenkins and your CI/CD stuff that you might already be using, and it is possible here. I just don't have like a working example of like a multi-stage deployment process. This is kind of just like a bit super simple, keep it simple example. So, yep. Any other questions? I did notice, kind of maybe related to that question is, on the GitHub Marketplace, there is a webhook action. So you can call like other webhooks as part of your build step or your a job. And kind of like I don't know if I should be telling you all this, but maybe it's at the end and people won't notice it. But you can do so. There's DAST, right? Like I talked about, like the security scanning. So the dynamic application security testing. So there's open source DASTs on GitHub Actions. And you can point that anywhere. So you can do, like InfoSec stuff on any target using GitHub Actions.
Until tomorrow, when they fix that.
Yeah. I mean, like, they're like, there's some like disclaimers like in the GitHub Actions, like don't do evil with that, this, but I don't know if there's any like safety checks in place for how you use the GitHub Actions yet. So yes, there is, hopefully people will use it for more good than bad, and we'll kind of learn where we need to make some changes along the way is kind of where I think we are right now on GitHub Actions. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. And yeah, the marketplace, I'm sure you've all seen the link. There is a ton of stuff on there. And I've been digging through it last couple of days and in preparation for this talk. And yeah, I mean, there's probably still a reason for the, the Circle CIs of the world, but you can do a lot now with GitHub Actions, and you have been able to do a lot with GitLab runners for a while now. So it's good to see that GitHub's getting some of those features added. I kind of like some final thoughts, I guess, is on GitLab, the GitLab runners, you can set up, you can have Docker containers as the runners, and you can add the runners pretty easily via like Ubuntu packages as well. So I think it's a little bit easier to add. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty simple, I guess. You just have to know, like, go here, follow the instructions, right? I mean, this is pretty simple, but yeah. I mean, it's also simple on GitLab. That's kind of the point. Yeah, and I mean, they're not quite to the point where you have like Docker containers that are runners. And when we get to that point, it'll be a lot nicer, because then you can have one machine that's like a dedicated runner, and then have multiple, or have one machine that has a bunch of runners on it, basically. Instead of right now, I'm not sure how to do that. I think it's just like one machine one runner per machine, especially if you have it like demonized and running in the background. I don't see how multiple runners on the same machine is possible, but I don't know. Yeah, so my preference would be like make it a Docker container. But yeah, I think it's still in preview. They're making good progress, and I'm interested to see where it goes. All right. Well, I think that's it for this month, unless we have anything else.
Yeah, I think we're good. Thanks so much for the talk, Logan. That was really awesome.
Great. You're welcome. Thanks everyone for joining us this month. We will get through this. So
yeah, hope you all have a good month, and I guess a good Halloween. We won't see you till after that. So enjoy.
Yep. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks everyone. You're welcome, Gene.